Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average pun-making swearwolf that loves to explore the spookier things in life.
I'm your co-host John Thomas, paranormal investigator, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our legendary pals out there? In today's episode, we will be jumping back into the world of urban legends, one of our most popular topics. You know we had to bring it back. Join us, along with our returning special guests, as we dive into these spooky tales.
But first, a word from our network sponsor.
Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more. I somehow typed as we drive into these spooky tales, so I'm glad I did not say what I saw.
11-mile road driving, why not?
We're driving into these, drive along these spooky tales. All right. Who's going on a spooky ride with us?
All these poor souls.
As we ride our spooky tricycle.
Souls.
Yes.
All
And
right.
welcome back, everybody. I'm going to beat Ashley to it because this is what I need to do. Like Ashley said, we have special returning guest, the legends themselves, Shane and Lila, back for Urban Legends Part 3. Welcome back.
Hey!
Yo.
Yo. What's up?
Sup?
So,
Oh, man, that's funny. Okay, so who did their homework? Who found spooky urban legends? Or just not spooky? Who
I
found
did.
some? Yay! Okay, I vote Lila kicks it off. Tell us the
There you
first
go.
legend.
See,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
a good student. I do my work.
Woohoo!
So we're going to go ahead and we are going to travel to India first.
Ooh, I've always
We're
wanted
going
to
to
go
make this
there.
a global adventure.
Little saffron.
Yeah, so we will be talking about the village of Kolkata. And if I butchered that, I apologize to every single person who is listening. So the village of Kolkata was abandoned in 1825. So this is a pretty small village, and all of the residents just up and left overnight. It seems as though they've vanished, and nobody has lived there since. So this town is still abandoned. I see a hand raise.
yes, I think we did this one already.
Did we?
It sounds
it
a little
like
familiar, but
The
I don't
10,000
know.
people disappearing and...
This one was a bit smaller.
Okay.
Even if we have done it, chances are you found a version of it that maybe we
Right.
haven't discussed. So keep going. Okay.
Yeah. So it seems that the villagers had disappeared overnight, and nobody has lived there since. Those who do visit and do try to move in are said to have been chased away or they will die. So it is a cursed land, and those who have visited can hear reports of screams, of footsteps, seeing apparitions. So it's pretty spooky. It's a pretty spooky town.
That is creepy. I don't know if I want to visit there.
Is this the village that, like, where if you move to it, you're cursed to die and, like, the paranormal investigation was done there? Is that same village, or is that a different one?
That's what I'm saying. Like, the similarities are there, but, like, yeah.
I don't
I'm
remember.
sure there's quite a few of those
Yeah.
around the world.
Lots
Yeah.
of disappearing villages.
Which begs the question, how does a whole village disappear overnight? We see it happen all over. Where do they go? What's happening?
Canada.
Canada.
So there's a couple of different theories as to what happened to these particular people. So pretty much what I was reading up on is the minister who was in charge of the village, who led the village, there's two variations that I'm going to cover. One, demonic in nature and is seen as evil. And the townsfolk were very scared. And so they left in order to avoid being cursed and being put to their doom. The other is, we didn't like this guy, so we just up and left because he can't tell us what to do if we're all the way over here now.
I mean, either one sounds like every politician we know.
Right.
Correct. So we could go with the more realistic version, or we could go with the spooky version.
I'm going to go with the demons. It's always
Let's go with the demons.
I'm gonna go with the demons.
We can do that.
I'm picking that version.
I do find it interesting, though, that this is still abandoned, and it's nearly 200 years later.
Yeah. Spooky.
I mean, it makes you wonder, too, are they being chased off, people that try to move in, by maybe locals that we don't know about?
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, after all, India had an island full of natives that literally kill you if you come onto the island. So, and we just knew about that as of recent because one dude got killed. So who knows?
Right.
There's a lot of places I'm sure we haven't discovered yet.
Where people are living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, maybe because it wouldn't be that far-fetched that ghost stories and haunting stories and cursed land stories are created legends to keep people away so that, people who indigenously live somewhere, or even just not even indigenous people that are in a certain community, don't want outsiders to come in and invade. So all of these urban legends arrive.
Well, I won't go there.
I'm good staying away from cursed places. I just think I'm good.
But where's the fun in that?
Famous last words.
I went back to our season 2 Urban Legends 2, and we did talk about the Indian village of Kuldara. 1825, 1,000 residents vanished overnight.
Because it was 1,000, not 10,000, yeah.
And an Indian paranormal team spent a night there and experienced apparitions. Kuldara, Kuldhara.
Yeah. Then
All right,
ignore
so there you
this. Let's just edit this out.
But not necessarily. Not necessarily.
That's embarrassing.
Because I don't think so, because the listeners from last season may not be the same listeners for this episode.
Right.
So
Could
you
be
never know.
A whole new audience.
World.
So
Yeah.
a whole new world, yeah.
Whole new audience.
A whole new world. We did. Poor Fortunate Souls. We have a whole new... we are getting it. We're Disney karaoke tonight. All right. I have a new one for you guys.
Are we sure?
I am sure.
So what I'm hearing is we just all need a refresher on the episodes.
You know what? I am sure, because we haven't discussed this beauty.
Sweet.
So we have in Trinidad and Tobago, we have La Hablesse or La Diablesse. So La Hablesse or La Diablesse. This is a woman who sold her soul to the devil for eternal youth. She may seem beautiful, but her wide-brimmed hat hides a very bruised face, and a white dress conceals a cow's hoof at the end of one of her legs. So she's usually spotted, and this is what I love, because this is where other urban legends from around the world come at play. She's usually spotted at crossroads or cemeteries. And so I think that's interesting, because we've talked about the power of crossroads before, right? Don't quite understand why crossroads have a supernatural, paranormal kind of realm to it. But apparently this is where she's often spotted. She also... She likes to get her dance on, because she's also sometimes spotted at parties, at dances.
Nice.
Where she lures men away from the party and then, lures them off a cliff or into a forest where she leaves them to die. I mean, that's kind of a harsh way to reject a guy, but, you do you, girl. So that's La Hablesse in Trinidad and Tobago.
I think I'm still stuck on the hoof.
The cow hoof?
Yeah.
And just on
it's
one
just
foot.
in my brain.
I like the
how do you
crossroads.
think that affects her dancing? Just the hoof on one foot. Does she hobble?
More percussion.
Lean with the rock.
she leans and rocks. There you go.
More percussion, huh?
My hooves! My hooves! Listen to my hooves!
He said percussion, and then I automatically went back to the Little Mermaid with "Kiss the Girl" in my head.
Oh, percussion wins words.
Hey, it's
We're
weird how
in a Disney mindset tonight. What's happening here?
Well, I went Freddy Got Fingered there, but
Whoa.
it's weird that
That movie
no,
was
that's what
hilarious.
My Hooves was from.
Yes,
Uh, yeah, it's weird that it has crossroads though. It's kind of amazing how a lot of religions and even urban legends all kind of have the same stuff in them. Doesn't matter what country they come from. But crossroads, always reminds me of selling your soul for whatever reason. So maybe that's where she sold her soul. It's weird how the crossroads, those things intersect.
It's a recurring theme, and it seems like that's where the devil and other creatures are able to pass through. And so it's just like, why at crossroads is the veil thinner? I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe it's the same concept as in Scotland and Ireland and the UK. They have the mounds that they used to meditate on, and then that was where a lot of energy would be concentrated, and those were the higher concentration points where you could then commune with the dead, and during Samhain. But maybe it's a similar thing, something in nature or something a little beyond.
Maybe it's also just the pure simplicity of it's a stopping point. Like people are go on a road, right? They're traveling from one point to another. And the assumption is when you're on a road, you're continuously moving. But when you come to a crossroads, you're forced to stop. And in that moment, whatever you're running from or whatever's chasing you or appearing to you, that's in that moment where you are at your most vulnerable because you are completely stopped. I don't know.
That's when you get the surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker!
It's when Ralph Macchio comes with his guitar. And,
Wax on, wax off?
no, have you ever seen that movie? Where he plays a guitarist, a classical guitarist, and he meets this old blues player that sold his soul to the devil.
Oh,
And
I've
he
heard
tours
of it,
tours
yeah.
the country with the blues player. It's actually a good movie.
No, but I've heard the devil can play a mean fiddle.
Unless you're Nickelback and then it's a guitar, but yeah.
Look at this photograph.
Who's got the next one?
Shane, do you want to go?
I don't know. I'm just kind of recycling stuff now.
Alright.
Let's see here. How about the Boggy Creek Monster of Fouke in Arkansas?
I haven't
No.
heard that one.
No,
Don't think we did that one.
the Boggy Creek Monster of Fouke. Sorry to all you people of Arkansas if I slaughtered that name. It's a version of Sasquatch. He's commonly accepted to be around 7 or 8 feet tall and covered in hair. Legend says that he roams the creeks of rural Arkansas. He was first spotted in 1834 when people reported seeing a wild man. But really, it was just John. People still claim to spot the Boggy Creek Monster today, and he has been the subject of 5 feature-length films, including 1972's The Legend of Boggy Creek.
So aptly named. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Maybe it's just this dude that dresses up like that to keep people out of his swamps.
So Shrek.
Get out of my swamp.
So Shrek, exactly.
Donkey.
Donkey.
I've met a lot of people from the South.
When we talk urban legends, is there's always such a big overlap with cryptids, which it's my favorite topic. And I feel like I have such a hard time filtering through these stories and filtering through things because of that overlap. Yeah. It's really fun to delve into, though.
I think cryptids are an urban legend, though.
They are.
Just by nature, they're just a category of urban legends. So I don't see why you have to filter it. If you find the cryptid, bring it. I mean, we'll also have the cryptid episodes, but
I think people are more fascinated by the cryptids too because it's the it could be real kind of thing. Urban legends are it's a ghost story. Sometimes
I do believe in Mothman. I do.
Yeah.
And he believes in you.
Aww.
Well, I believe in big boobs and big foot.
I like big butts. Oh, man.
Jesus. All right. I got a couple. I don't know what I want to do first, though. Let's talk about Portland, Oregon, I'm assuming. 1981, there's a number of video game arcades that got this new video game called, and I'm going to butcher this, whatever the hell. Yeah,
Polybius.
yeah, that game. So it was apparently extremely addictive and had people lining up for hours to play. People had noticed men in black that were visiting the machines regularly to collect data. Allegedly, it was relating to the psychoactive effect that the consoles were having on the people. Some people apparently began having severe side effects, including amnesia, nightmares, and hallucinations. A month after they appeared, the games were gone. There was no trace they ever existed. Some people think that it's just an urban myth that came about when two players got sick playing other arcade games. Other people insist that the CIA was behind the project and they used the data that they collected for their mind control project.
Absolutely.
I buy that.
I just think it's funny that the men in black were there.
Will Smith himself.
I mean, data mining is a thing anyways for all games, all app
Right.
usage. So that's not so far-fetched to think that, okay, well, the game company was, collecting information. I don't think it was necessarily mind control, but I mean, data mining is a thing.
Yes, it is. I just thought it was weird that they disappeared.
It says the game was extremely addictive. And it's just like, especially back in the 80s, like that was, a lot of that stuff was new anyways. But even games are addictive in general. Anything's addictive. Social media usage, games, like it's a thing. So when you're staring at the same thing, interacting with it for hours on end, that is going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your dreams. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I can watch a horror movie for 2 hours and then dream about it. Like, It's a thing. I don't think this urban legend is as far-fetched as it sounds. I think people just took it far. That's like, oh, it's mind controlled by the CIA. They did it. And these games are somehow slipping things into our psychosis. And we're, in reality, to me, it just sounds like when you stare at something and interact and immerse in it for a few hours at a time, you're really engaged in it. You're leaning into it. It probably will affect your sleep. It probably will affect, like, the things we don't necessarily think about. But I don't think that has anything to do with, like, it was the devil or the CIA.
Well, I mean, they were accused of doing LSD trials, with what was it, inmates or psychological inmates, and putting them on LSD and observing how crazy they went, and then the urban legend went off, he tore his skin off, his, whatever. But
The sleep experiment thing that last
the sleep
last time,
experiments, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that last. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was but I think that was legitimately true stories that evolved into something a little more darker. I think it was the Russians we talked about last time. But the CIA, creepypasta, yeah. CIA was actually doing those experiments on people back in, I think, what was it, the 60s or 70s. And so, yeah, they're bad people. They were even worse back then.
Yes. All right, Ashley, it's your turn.
Ashley's got the best one, I bet.
Oh, is it my turn again?
No pressure.
It is.
Okay, so we're going back to another tale of a white lady. So we're taking it over, continuing our global trek. We're going to the Philippines. So they have these ghost creatures that in Tagalog, it's called caparusa. And they're like a ghost. And this specific caparosa is a glowing white figure with long hair and a white dress. The most famous one of these is a lady in white, and she's known as the White Lady of Balete Drive. And that's in Quezon City near Manila. And hopefully I'm saying these words right.
Yes.
She is the ghost of a woman who died in a car accident. The interesting thing about this is taxi drivers are the ones that are constantly reporting seeing her. So, because she's out at night, late at night, and the taxi drivers are out late at night. And they say that at first they initially pick a woman up, not really paying much attention. She gets in the backseat. They look in the rearview mirror as they're driving to figure out where they're going. And they see a bloody, bruised face in their back mirror. Here's where things get a little fun, I guess, if you, for lack of a better word. Because of this startling reaction, according to taxi drivers, this has led into multiple accidents. Like they get into random car accidents because they look back, see it. Obviously, you would be startled and whoop, wreck. Some of the taxi drivers have actually reported abandoning their cars. Like they will just like stop their car and get out and run. It's interesting how many of these taxi drivers report this occurring with them in that specific area. And at some point, I think if this is a consistent thing, I would not want to be a taxi driver on Bolete Drive, right? Like, let's just skip it. I'll do a route in Manila or further away because it seems like they're the poor souls that actually have to encounter her the most.
It's like one of my fears to be driving and like there's just a face in my like rear view mirror. Like that is like terrifying to me that I'm driving and all of a sudden there's a person in my back seat. And I have a small car. They would have to climb through the front to get through it.
Yeah, that was a real fear after I saw the movie Smile.
Yes.
I haven't watched it
That
yet.
was such a great movie.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on that.
I go down the 65 and it's dark, one lane, and I'm going down every night and I'm just thinking, and as soon as I like visioned the Smile in my head, I felt like a buzz and something behind me, and I'm like checking behind me. Yeah.
You're like, don't look.
And then I thought, how fucked up would it be just to drive up next to somebody? Oh, like now that this movie's out, and just like
Smile.
I have not been able to walk around my house without like my flashlight in my hand. It's, okay, this is spoiler free, Ashley, but like where she's in her kitchen.
Oh yeah,
Like at the start of this with the nope. I have to have my flashlight on. No shadows allowed. Can't do it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one because I was afraid that everyone else is jaded and maybe it got to me a little bit too much.
No, I'm bugging out. I've been
very
bugging out for the
disturbing
last
film.
week.
Good, I'm glad. And you guys go in a haunted house.
In this world full of pranksters, though, and all of these urban legends, it makes you wonder how many people actually dress up in white just to fuck with taxi drivers and showing up in these parties with like white dresses on and like a little cow hoof on their foot, like just.
I mean, look how many people were dressed as clowns.
Yeah, that shit was freaky.
You know, I couldn't even dress in my clown costume and go out in it because of how many people were actually out in the middle of nowhere dressed as clowns, being creepy and like just for no absolute reason.
Oh, way back, what was it, 2016 when that was all happening?
The whole clown epidemic.
Clown epidemic. What was that all about?
I had been planning my costume for a year, and the cops, when finally Halloween came, the cops were like, "Yeah, don't come out as a cop. We're going to shoot you." So I stayed home.
That kind of reminds me real quick before we keep going. When Lila and I were driving to go see Smile, it's like 7:30 at night, so it was dark. We saw these two people dressed up as Teletubbies, and it was freaky as fuck. They're just walking down the street dressed up as two Teletubbies, and I'm like, what the shit? Like,
the scariest part were their masks.
Don't judge on their love.
I was going to say something about the Philippines since we're on the Philippines. So there's actually because you know my wife is half Filipino, but there's an urban legend or also a cryptid in Lila. I know you like cryptids. It's called the Aswang, Aswang, also known as the Aswang.
We talked about them.
Did we?
Cryptids, season 1 or season 2. You may have more insight though because you're like we just had Google. You might have more insight. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a known cryptid in the Philippines to where like they shapeshift in different creatures and different animals, but they're also thought to take children as kind of like a prize. But they're part of the legend is like how they kill you, where they actually eat your liver, I believe, but not cut it out of you. They eat it out through your anus, which is coincidentally how when the Spanish colonizers came, that's how they killed Magellan, the famous Spaniard. They pulled his liver out of his anus. The ass one, yeah.
I have a question. How do you know that that's the liver you're grabbing? If you're going
I think you just reach in and hook, and whatever comes out, comes out. And they're like, well, that
How
kind
do
of
you
looks
know
like
it's a
the
liver?
liver.
Well, they had small hands back then, so they were very, very finite. They were able to,
Oh,
That's not the part that I'm asking about.
and I'm sure they've done it
Specifically-
before. It's touch and feel, you know?
They're like, okay,
I
I
don't
think
know
the
what a
liver's
liver
about
feels
right
like
here. Let's go.
personally.
How do you find the outlet in the dark when you're
okay,
plugging
but
in
we
your phone?
know our anatomy, right? Like the liver, you can't get through the anus. Like you can't get to the liver. Like you're gonna go through intestines to the stomach to the like.
Or
Let's just
straight
think
through.
about anatomy for.
That's a far reach.
The liver's not in that journey there, so
It's a big stick.
it's a big stick. They had to hook through somewhere. They took some shortcuts.
Tore out in this way through the anus all the intestines of a Spanish notary who was buried in Calella by Father Fray Juan de Merdida. It was a known thing. And they only had the smallest of Filipinos back then do it. Because back then they were super islandy. And a true Filipino isn't what you no. So that's a true story. An actual true Filipino isn't what it looks like today. True Filipinos back then, before they mixed with Spanish blood and they were kind of muddled, were very tiny and very, very dark.
You also called them an it.
That's what I noticed. It isn't
Yeah.
what it looks like today. I'm like, are Filipinos it's now?
I didn't catch that, but I don't think he meant it that way.
Filipinos aren't what they look like today.
I'm just gonna edit that one.
I was still stuck on pulling the liver through the anus.
It's just not you gotta cut through things. It's not a direct route.
It's not the way I want to go.
Maybe they didn't cut their nails.
I'm no doctor. However,
I've
that's
taken enough anatomy classes to know those two things don't connect.
one of these things.
The liver through your anus. It doesn't make any sense.
To the other. And this is why it's an urban legend. But it makes sense why they're called the ass
Ass-lang.
Okay, so did you know in Singapore they have the Maksik Karapak? And these it's in the presentation of a woman. And usually it's an elderly woman when she's going door to door, knocking on the door. And she's trying to sell you some type of food. Usually it's like a type of cracker. She's obsessed with the idea of youth and beauty. So her main agenda is to feast on the blood of virgins. But she's not at your door looking for virgins. That's just a side note. How they know that, I don't know. She's at your door trying to sell you these food offerings. And she's said to have an assistant called the Pontianak. And she's trying to sell what's called the karapak, which are like the crackers. Here's where it gets a little dicey because the urban legends have two different interpretations. So one of the urban legends says if you buy her food, then her Pontianak, her assistant, is going to be unleashed in your home. So it's almost like a vengeful spirit is unleashed in your home and wreaks like total havoc inside of your home. If you don't buy it, then the same thing happens. So one is if you do, your home is vengeful spirit. And if you don't, vengeful spirit. So it's like, oh, fuck, just don't answer the door. Because, like, you're screwed either way. Because which door is it, left or right? We don't know. One of the doors is lying. Now, I like that this urban legend, though, has, like, a loophole. Because in Singapore, they have, for this specific urban legend, the Muslim greeting, Assalamu alaikum. So when people come to your door, they'll say Assalamu alaikum, but that's a very holy type greeting. She cannot say those words. So she shortens it to come. So she'll knock on your door and say, come. And so if she won't say the Assalamu alaikum, then you have an unholy being at your door. But I don't know. Do you buy the crackers? Do you not buy the crackers?
I can avoid this super easily. I fall in the zillennial category, and I don't answer my door if people knock, and I'm not expecting them. There's my loophole.
Yeah. I'll just take the tray and throw it in her face. And all the food, all the floor. Goodbye.
Tell her, sorry, bitch, I'm not a virgin.
I have kids.
There be no virgins in this house. I'll lie to her. But you know what? I think at that point, it's just keeping the door closed. And if someone's knocking, it's be like, say it. Say the full thing. Or I'm not opening it.
Say the words, motherfucker.
But yeah, the two variations of if you do buy the food, then you're out of luck. If you don't, you're out of luck. So
I have a theory about that. So one of the theories behind this urban legend is that it was originally derived from the government to keep people from buying food from unlicensed food providers. And so my theory is that it started that way, but the people that are the food providers that are trying to sell their food twisted it to their advantage so that you do want to buy their, like you will buy their food because you don't want to be cursed. So I almost think that you have two different sources that were like, don't buy the food, they're unlicensed, or buy my food. And so they just kind of twisted the urban legend to fit what their agenda was. That's kind of my theory, but I don't know.
that seems like a pretty logical theory.
But I'm with Lila. I'm just not going to answer the door.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to save myself the curse.
Hey, Ashley,
Yes.
when you were growing up, did you hear a lot of like Mexican, like urban legends and stuff? Like, hey, if you don't do this, this is going to happen.
Yeah, I guess it just depended on which one.
Have you ever heard of the legend of La Mano Peluda?
I don't know. I don't know. Describe it, because I'm not sure.
So La Mano Peluda, it's I guess it originated. There's a man named Senor Villa who was known as Horta, and he and his wife La Gangosa owned a pawn shop. Horta was short, a little on the bigger side, very hairy. He was all by accounts a pretty terrible person. No, this is the story. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So it looks like the legend of La Mano Peluda can be heard in almost every Latin American country, but seems bigger in Mexico and Colombia. It dates back to Spanish Inquisition. There are many legends that tell that under your bed there's a portal to the underworld, and this allows for more stories such as La Mano Peluda to grow. Most versions of the legend say that La Mano Peluda belongs to a man that lived and died during the Spanish Inquisition. He was wrongfully accused of robbery and his hand was cut off. When this happened, he swore he would get revenge on everyone for this, but he remained alive and died of natural causes later in life. Other versions say that his hand was cut off, he swore revenge, then he was killed and buried in the cemetery. Now the hand comes back seeking vengeance. The version from Mexico is a bit different than that. It takes place in the year 1908 in Puebla, Puebla, with Senor Villa. No bells ring?
No, I think all kids have kind of grown up with the hand under the bed that's going to drag you to hell, but, or somewhere scary, some monster, but I don't recall that specific one.
The hand is black, hairy, with very sharp nails. It is twice as big as your average adult hand. It is disembodied and leaves a trail of blood behind it. Maggots can be seen moving around the hand as well. The hand waits for children to get out of bed, then spring out from under the bed and pull the child down to the underworld with it. It really is drag me down to hell. In Colombia, it's also said to not only come out from under the bed, but also from big windows and behind doors. There are also versions of the tale where the hand comes from out of the wall. So you must be aware when sleeping against the wall.
Maggots, Michael, you're eating maggots.
I was going to say,
good.
I like how you laughed and I laughed at the same time when he said maggots, because that's
You know
exactly
where
where I
I was
went, was the Lost Boys too.
I was always default there. I have not heard that specific one. To me, it just sounds like parents trying to keep their kids in bed. Don't go near the window. To keep them from sneaking out. Don't get out of your bed at nights. Don't, because then it's going to drag you and pull you to hell. The walls, that I don't quite get.
Yeah, that's a whole new one.
Don't you sleep
It's
on
got
walls.
extra pizzazz. It adds some flavor to the story.
So it's not as obvious, right? Like, oh, mom's just trying to keep me in bed. It's like, don't go near the walls. Wait, what?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
can't I go near the walls?
Yeah.
Stay in bed, you ungrateful child.
Right? But
then I
don't put
feel-
your bed near a wall. Because like he said, don't sleep too close to the wall.
I was going to say, I feel bad for the kids who are still like close enough in age that they share a bed. One of them has to sleep next to the wall. They're going to sit there and fight over who's going to get disappeared into the wall.
Who's going gonna get pulled into the
Problem
wall.
solving, just put the bed in the middle of the room.
There you go.
So it's accessible on all sides and not against the wall.
Then they can just roll off the bed on both sides.
That's not my problem. I'm not their parent.
Man, and I used to love sleeping against the wall. Like, I would wedge myself right there. So
Yep.
luckily no hand pulled me into hell.
You made it to adulthood.
Yay!
Yeah, you're safe.
I survived La Mano Peluda.
You have won this game of life.
I won.
I got one more.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We're gonna come back to the States here. We're gonna be in Louisiana this time.
Oh, Louisiana boy.
Yes, there's a one-roomed cabin that is said to contain a bunch of mirrors from floor to roof. And guys got kind of could tell where this is going. The mirrors make up the 6 sides of the cabin and face
Sex?
inward towards each other.
Oh, that wasn't where I was going. Okay.
Ashley.
Portals. I remember.
Basically is where we're getting, yes.
All
so
right.
according to the tale, if a person goes into the cabin and stays too long, the devil will appear and take the person's soul. It is also said that no one can stay in there longer than 5 minutes. One man stayed in there for, over 4 minutes, came out mute, never spoke again. A woman went in there and allegedly suffered cardiac arrest. There was also a teenage boy who had to be forcibly removed. While kicking and screaming, he killed himself 2 weeks later.
So who owns this fucking house? Like, why are we not taking the mirrors down?
And why?
Yeah.
It's Jason Bacon's.
It's literally a cabin in the woods. Ta-da. No, I just thought that was creepy with the mirrors and the portal stuff, and yeah.
Can I ask, why is it always the devil that shows up? Like, in demonology, aren't there, like, over 70-something demons? Why is it just him that shows up? Like, the other ones are like, nah, fuck this. This is beyond it's not worth my time. Why is it always him? Or are they just all categorizing, lumping it all as the devil, and it's really, like, any one of them could be showing up?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's a devil.
It's a devil.
That girl's the devil.
But I still want to know who owns that home and why are they still keeping it up? It must be owned by the devil. And it's just like,
Well, the devil went down to Georgia, and he bought himself a cabin.
Yeah, but this is in Louisiana, not Georgia.
well,
So he went
he
from
had a
Georgia to
contest in Georgia, but he bought his house in Louisiana because it's cheaper there.
He's renting it
It's his
out.
summer home.
Yeah.
It's a
plus that-
timeshare.
Plus that fucking Johnny was in Georgia and took his fucking fiddle, so...
Yeah, and it was made of gold. Those things are not easy to come by.
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
All these fiddle stories.
What did
First
his
we were
mom
on
ever do to
Disney.
you?
I literally hate that song, too.
So now I know what to play next time.
You brought it up this time.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of a cabin in the woods, have you heard about the murder cabin in Idaho?
No, but do
that
tell.
doesn't surprise me.
Okay, so in 1800s, in the Owyhee Mountains in Idaho, there was a group of hunters staying in a cabin, and after failing to come back to their families, a search party was sent out to look for them. They eventually found the cabin, and according to legends, the cabin was locked from the inside, with the windows also locked from the inside. They had to break into the cabin, and what they found was that all of the hunters were dead, with their heads crushed in. No one knows who did it or how, but according to legends, it repeated itself again in the 1970s.
I don't like that.
It's a serial crusher.
Yeah, like for all the heads to be like crushed in, because you could think, okay, maybe one of them went crazy, killed the others, and then killed himself, but you can't crush your own head in. So...
Or can you?
I'd rather not find out.
You think you'd find the mechanism of that if you did that. So that's the murder cabin.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Interesting.
I like the ones that are like set in the woods and have some like little creepy foresty stories. These ones are fun.
It makes you more nervous and a bit apprehensive when you're going on road trips. Because it's like you see, like, hey, we'll just rent a room. There's a cabin. Nope. Not doing it. No cabins for me. Not on this life.
Hey, not with these stories, not with the Evil Dead. Nope, nuh-uh.
With the Evil Dead. Never read a book in another language that has occult symbolism on
Or
it.
an eyeball.
Or even if it's in your language, just don't do it, guys. Like, if you
Life
find a
lessons with
creepy book,
3Haunted.
yeah, just don't read it out loud. Just put it back.
Just read it silently in your head.
If it says don't read, don't read.
Commit it to memory.
But we all know that even just looking at some of these things could open up those energies and those pathways. So just close the book, put it back.
Put that thing back where
Yeah.
it came from, or so help me.
For sure.
Even God won't help you if you do that.
Like law of attraction.
Have you heard of the Ghost Festival?
No, let's go.
So it's a real
That
thing.
sounds sick.
It's not as ominous as it sounds, and yet it is. So in a lot of the Asian countries, and I say that because this is seen in Thailand, China, like it's Singapore, all of the different places. It's the 7th month of the lunar calendar, so it's August, is a almost month-long festival called the Ghost Festival. It's called something else, but in English translation, it's the Ghost Festival. During this time, it is when it is believed that the gates of hell are opened and hungry ghosts are able to cross over onto Earth and roam the land of the living, searching for food, entertainment, and souls. This is also the time when offerings can be made to people that have passed. So it takes place between August 1st and August 29th. So that's a really long ghost month.
It is.
And for the hungry ghosts, it said they are looking for a substitute to take their place in some cases. So here's the deal. During the Hungry Ghost Festival time, there are rules to this month. And the rules is where a lot of the urban legends come into play. So the first rule of Hungry Ghost Festival is don't talk about it. So we have Fight Club rules. And here's why. Because if you talk about the Ghost Festival during the month of the Ghost Festival, it can offend the spirits. And you really don't want to do that. So during that time, you don't talk about it's Hungry Ghost time. Like you don't discuss that. Because you don't want to offend spirits. They also say don't take photos at night or you might capture a spirit in your photographs. They say don't leave external doors open at night because it's an invitation for ghosts to enter your home. This one made me laugh. Don't urinate on a tree during this time.
John, you definitely don't want to go there.
Here's why. It says this is a really bad idea during this month because spirits often hide inside of trees. So you're literally pissing on a ghost. So
You just hear gargling as you look down.
Ew. So they're like, just stay away from the woods at night. And, in and of itself anyways, because the spirits are in the trees. Which we've seen that, right? In some of the lore that we've talked about with like the different forests and how the spirits of ghosts that have passed away in an unfortunate manner stay there in that forest. And so, there you go.
Those poor unfortunate souls.
Oh my God. Not the time for a joke. All right. So you also are not supposed to leave your chopsticks standing upright in your bowl of food.
I've heard that.
It says, aside from being bad table manners, sticking your chopsticks in your food makes them resemble the joss stick offerings to the dead. So if you set those up in your food like that, the spirits may mistake your food for offerings and take over your body to consume it, indirectly cursing you. So don't do that.
Where was this, Ashley? Where was this located?
This is in a lot of different Asian countries.
So Asian
it's celebrated
yeah.
by the Chinese. Yeah, it's celebrated by Taoists, Buddhists. It's in Singapore. Like it's a very
it's funny you mentioned the chopsticks because my Ariana, my wife, her friends growing up, whenever she went over there, the parents would always scold them for leaving the chopsticks standing up, and it would always correct them. So even now today, she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that because it's disrespectful to the dead." I'm like,
there you go. It's they're gonna take over your body, and then last but not least, there's actually a few more things, but one of the things I found interesting, they do not encourage people to go swimming during this month because they said that is the portal to hell. And so what the spirits will do is they will pull you down as you're swimming and take you with them because some of them are looking for companions. Others believe that it's also a space where a ghost can take over your body because they're looking for a substitute to take their place in hell so they can finally be reincarnated into your body. So it's basically a space of possession. Whatever that's the case or not, especially in Singapore, this is like a really strong belief for that specific one. It's common to hear people, like parents telling their kids, I guess, not to go swimming, which is interesting because in August, is it pretty hot there? So avoiding those bodies of water.
Wow, that's a good one.
And, this is an Asian belief. I don't think it's limited to that specific area of the world. So imagine that being here or anywhere else. I'd be curious to see what kind of phenomena occurs in August in certain places, since that is the spirit month, the ghost month, if you will, on the lunar calendar. Like, what kind of stuff do you notice in August?
Well, my triplets are born in August, so that alone.
Now I understand.
Right out of the portal of hell.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, goodness. Well, speaking of ghost festivals and things like that, I'm going to switch us up to a little bit of a less spooky but also still interesting festival. So, Frozen Dead Guy Festival. Have y'all heard of this?
That's what it's called?
It's in Colorado.
Frozen Dead Guy Festival?
Frozen Dead Guy Festival, or it's Frozen Dead Guy Days is what it's also called. So this is something that happens in Netherlands every year. So, like, we were talking about it at work, like, several months ago, and all really wanted to go to this thing and then didn't make it. And I was just looking up the dates because I had a light bulb go on my brain when you were talking, Ashley, and it's in March next year. So pretty much the story and the background to this is that an older man was hiking in Norway. I believe his name was Bredo, Bredo, Bredo. So he was hiking in Norway and reportedly had a heart attack while he was hiking, and died in, was it 1989? And so he was under the care of, like, his grandson. So his grandson had taken his body and had it frozen in nitrogen until 93, when his body was transported to Netherlands and was kept on ice. So backstory, but now there is, like, a whole festival and a whole, like, community that comes together, whether that's, like, you think it's touristy or you're in there for more of the spooky vibes, but you can, like, hike up to the dead guy, where, like, his body is stored. There are, like, coffin races or coffin sledding is what it's called. There's all of these, like, frozen morbid events that go on.
I've been wanting to go to that, to do the coffin sledding.
I want to go so badly.
I have a picture somewhere where they had been advertising it, and they had a big coffin set up, and I took a picture in there because I'm like, one day I'm going to come do the coffin sledding.
Yeah. So it, like, stems from something pretty tragic, but his grandson decided to move his body to the States and have him frozen on ice, and there was, like, this infrastructure that was built for the body, legal stuff, backstory, but now there's this whole festival surrounding it, and I think that it's amazing.
It's Disney on ice. Just joking.
It's kind of cold-blooded.
I just want Techno Viking to be there. That was good.
Goodness.
So I'm going to tell you about the licked hand. This is not a location. This is just a spooky story to tell your friends, urban legend. But it's not in a specific town. So,
I like this one.
if you're a pet lover, skip on to the next tale. So there's this young girl who is spending the night home alone for the very first time. While trying to sleep, she heard an ominous dripping noise coming from her bathroom. She was too scared to investigate, so she hid under her blankets. And she reached down to pet her dog because she knew he was right there. That's where he always slept. And reaching down, she felt the dog lick her hand from the floor, so she knew she was okay. And she pulled her hand under her blanket and went back to bed. The next morning, she decided to finally go to investigate what that strange sound was, only to find her beloved dog had been slaughtered, and a terrifying message written in his blood across the wall said, "Humans can lick hands too."
Dun, dun, dun.
Bom, bom, bom. So don't stick your hand out to pet your animal at night, because humans can lick hands too.
Good thing I didn't have a dog.
Gross.
Or maybe it's la mano peluda.
There you go.
He's
Coincidentally,
licking your hand.
they had hot dogs that night too.
Oh.
That's a hot dog.
Hot dog, hot dog. Hot diggity dog.
Do you know that during the Ghost Festival, that there's a belief that there are 3 flames on our body, like metaphysical flames, one on the forehead and one on each shoulder. And during this festival, they actually encourage not to pat each other's shoulders because you'll put the flames out on whoever you're patting, so which is affecting your life force. So during this time, and just during this month, I guess, is when, that veil is super thin. They really don't, you're not supposed to go up and pat someone's shoulder. Could you imagine, forehead slapping somebody?
It'd be good
During
good
that-
way to fuck with people, yeah.
Pop, pop! So, just a little side note.
No, I think that's interesting though, because it's the concept of messing with other people's energies and putting yourself in a space where you have no say over this person's energy. You have no say over what happens to them. Mind your own flames.
Yeah, mind your own flames. You know what's interesting is the forehead and the shoulders, that's a triangle, and that also reminds me of the Trinity, the cross in Catholicism. So it's interesting that all of, Shane was saying earlier, all of these different belief systems have very similar patterns of what they believe. So, yeah, I found that interesting. This time has gone by really fast. I had a great time talking about more urban legends with you guys.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
Does anyone have any last one before we wrap it up?
I think that we need to go on a 3Haunted trip to Frozen Dead Guy Festival.
I would be down with that. When is it? In March?
March.
It's March, I believe, 18th.
Because I've been wanting to go coffin sledding, so that sounds like a great time.
That would be fun.
I do have one last question for John and Lila. Lila, you went to Jerome, right, with them?
Yes.
Okay. So there was an urban legend I found about the Jerome, Arizona ghost cats. Did you guys hear about that when you were there?
If it's the cat that they sometimes see at the hotel and feel, I have.
Okay.
Because I know that a couple of people have said they have felt like a cat come into their room and sit on their bed, and they weren't scared by it or anything. They just, whatever. Didn't think anything of it, and that was it. But yeah, that's all I know of that one.
Yeah, that I was reading about that apparently there are ghost cats in Jerome at the Grand Hotel and the Mile High Inn. And people see random footprints, cat footprints, and they feel the presences of these cat ghosts. So I was just curious if you guys had experienced that while you were there.
No.
I never experienced it, but I've heard about it.
Well, then I'll leave you with one last one, and it's in Chicago. It's Chicago's Resurrection Mary. So this is an iconic hitchhiker since the 1930s. Mary is dressed up fancy, and she flags people down near the Willowbrook Ballroom. If they do pick her up, she rides with them as far as the Resurrection Cemetery, where she immediately asks to be let out and then disappears. Turns out Mary was a victim of a hit and run, and now she goes back and forth between the Willowbrook Ballroom and the Resurrection Cemetery. So, if you ever find yourself in Chicago and you're looking for a good old ghostly time, head on over to the Willowbrook Ballroom and see what you find.
And grab yourself a deep dish, because Chicago premium.
Grab yourself a Mary. All right.
Well, you know, there is just something about Mary.
Oh, bada
there's
bing!
Well, as always, I have fun with all of you. It's always a good time with this crew, and time goes by way too fast when we're all together. So thank you both, Shane and lovely Lila, for coming on.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having us back.
it's always amazing.
Always.
Yes. Love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick, did you guys mind if I plug the album that's coming out?
Oh, no, wait. Okay, yes.
Please,
Don't
yeah,
bring us
do
home,
it.
John. Sorry.
I'm not bringing us home. We're back,
Okay.
bitches.
Rewind. Shane.
All right.
Well, Shane, do you have anything to promote this evening?
Yeah, so I don't know how many people know, just a close circle, but my wife has stage 4 cancer. And in really being an artist and being a musician and a producer, I've collaborated with other producers and artists, and we're coming together for a cancer awareness album called God Magic. And that's going to be released anywhere between November and early December. There's not a decided date yet because we're trying to still add artists in, but look for that. It's going to hit all available platforms pretty much out there. So, and it's called God Magic.
Awesome. And is there anything we can do to support you?
Yes, definitely. Please go and purchase it, stream it. Pretty much all proceeds go towards charity. So it is 100%. There, I believe there's going to be T-shirts to buy as well with the album logo on there. 100% go to the charity as well. So it's definitely something that we're trying to raise awareness for breast cancer and cancer alone.
Thank you. And as soon as it's out and you have those links to the merch and the music, please send them our way and we'll get it posted and blasted out.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Lila.
Yes, thank you both very much. Always fun with you guys. And everybody, listeners out there, like he said, be on the lookout for that album. Buy those shirts. Buy that album. Let's do this. And once again, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of 3Haunted. I'm your co-host, John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And if anybody has any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss one crazy moment.
Until next time. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Everyone starts dancing.
How could you not?